everyone, and welcome back to Wrestling Forever. There it is. Once again, it's Billy fucking Kirkwood along here with Ryan Fitzsimons. Always want to make sure I get it the right number way. The number one wrestling podcast host. I should say number one Celtic podcast host. That would be a hell of a...
I was about to say, did we gain like 5 million subscribers overnight without my knowledge? I was so confused.
Something, mate? People rewrite wrestling history all the time.
True.
We could fucking do this.
That is true.
It's the quality, not the quantity of the viewership. Although some more quantity would be nice. If you have never watched Wrestling Forever before, it's a little bit of an alternative wrestling podcast. We're not going by minute, news story by news story. We're taking an overview of pro wrestling from the past, present, and the future. And we got a lot to talk about today, Ryan.
Yes.
Got a lot to talk about today. So I don't think we go barreling straight into our I-Nos.
I mean, we can do that if you like. You dictate the pace, sir. You pick what you want to do first.
I think is what we'll go straight into.
Okay.
I'll kick off with one of mine first because we're going to talk a little bit about Saturday night's main event. But we have to talk about one thing. Mine's is a like straight out of the way. And it is from Saturday night's main event. I don't think we're going to talk about it too much when we chat about that. So I have got to talk about Jesse Ventura.
Yes.
Who, I will say, at the start of the show, had me worried a little bit.
There was was it right at the start of the show, he made some joke that just did not fall at all with anybody in the arena. It just went, whew, and it was silence. And I was like, oh, we're in for a long night.
That is what I thought for a second. And can I just say to whoever's in the WWE costume department, whatever, I appreciated you did a version of the sheepskin and you got on the feather boas, but could we have not updated the look a little bit? I know that sounds like it's such a... What arseholes we are as wrestling fans. It's like, what, Intercontinental Champion with those hips? Like, could we not have got Jesse and just a killer, fashionable, out there kind of a suit, just made him look top notch, maybe with a feather boa and a nice pair of sunglasses, and he was wearing the Peaky Blinders hat and all this type of thing. I just thought the look was a wee bit off, but it's a positive. It's a positive.
Did you catch him trying to educate Pat McAfee on the lore of Jake the Snake Roberts, and it just completely went by him?
I got to admit, I did pop that he said his jacket was
Damien. Pat McAfee just had... I think Pat McAfee must have thought he was talking about Damien Priest. Like, he had no Scooby whatsoever.
Oh my God.
He's sitting there like that. You have butchered Damien Priest into a snakeskin jacket.
That's exactly what happened. His bit at the beginning with Joe, I thought was solid. He did refer to... Loads of people jumped on him going, his speech seems a wee bit slower, but you know something, man, I thought the fire was still there. I genuinely did. He did a good job. He referred to Kevin Owens as Kevin Owen, and it was like, I think you can let that go.
Yep.
Also, he's trying to get up to speed in a product that he's maybe only dipped in and out of. I mean, this was 40 years for the first time in 40 years.
Yep.
He's back on NBC. Not entirely sure if that time frame works out, but it's up there anyway. It's really, really up there because obviously he worked in WCW. I thought he did a great job, and on commentary he went outright heel.
Yep,
and continued telling the story. Now, loads of people have messaged me over the weekend. Here's what I want to make clear: I've always wanted to go heel killer. Like, I want to make that very, very clear. I would fucking love to do that. 2025, I'm coming for you. But I thought he did a great story. He didn't shit on the lineage of what he thought of Dusty Rhodes.
Yep.
He didn't shit on Kevin Owens on the journey that he's going on. He continued the story. Loads of people were kind of shitting on him a little bit for going through. I loved that. I thought it was... here's the thing. Pat McAfee has dipped about a little bit in terms of healing stuff, but I just think he's too desperate to be liked now.
Yeah, look, for me, the proper heel commentator is something that sadly, well, in WWE anyway, died a long time ago, and I'm sad about that because I genuinely think that there is something to be added to the commentary team with a proper heel commentator, like Jerry Lawler back in the 90s.
I hope the guys from ICW are watching.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go.
Listen,
I'm ready to go.
I'll let you do it because I think it's an art form in itself to have that on commentary, to offer that sort of, I don't know, different perspective on things, and it also keeps, I think it's a great way to engage the casual viewer. If you have a casual viewer that is listening and you have someone who is acting as a heel commentator, it kind of allows somebody who might not be as in tune with the storyline to realise, this guy is a scumbag because the guy on commentary is backing him up so like eloquently. I don't know, there's just something about a heel commentator that really does help. I think it kind of exaggerates storylines and bring forward something. I love it. It was something like it was a blast from the past, something that I really enjoyed, and I'm hoping to, I just can't wait to hear him in commentary again for the next Saturday Night Main Event.
You know, the thing is, if they keep it an exclusive Jesse thing, I'm also okay with that.
Yeah.
Because it means you will look forward to seeing Jesse Ventura. You'll look forward to hearing him in commentary. And it was great. And it was a great commentary over a great match. We will come back to Saturday Night's Main Event. But I've got to say, despite the fact he's still somewhat of a problematic, slightly polarizing character, WWE have got him on a short leash. And he's there to do the job. And he's there to have lineage for his kids to make a bit of cash off. Jesse Ventura. It's a thumb up from me. It's a thumb up from me.
Huge thumb up from me.
Do you have one yourself? Do you have?
I will start with a like, because why not? Just to keep this positivity riding, and it kind of ties into what we were just talking about. I need to talk about it. I want to talk about it. I really like what they're doing with Kevin Owens at the minute. I really do. As a huge Kevin Owens fan, listen, when CM Punk walked away from WWE back in 2014. My next, I had nobody. I had no favourite. I had nobody that was like Punk to me. And then I started watching Kevin Steen in Ring of Honor, and then very quickly was signed to WWE to become Kevin Owens. He became my guy. He was my favourite. He still is one of my favourites, of course. It's not as if I don't like him anymore. But this that they're doing with him right now feels very Kevin Steen-like, to allow him to use the package pile driver, to allow him to be this absolute bastard. But I must admit, it's such a fresh take on a heel, because at the same time as him being this heel that has destroyed Randy Orton, that has destroyed Cody Rhodes, if you look at it at a certain point of view, Kevin Owens right now could be seen as the biggest face in WWE. Everything that he's doing has got a reason, and it's justified to the point where he really is a good guy.
Well, that's the whole thing, isn't it? I mean, the best villains are the ones that are justified in their own ways. I mean, I was a big fan of the Kevin Steen stuff in ROH, particularly stuff with Jim Cornette, who's not necessarily the biggest fan, but those two worked brilliantly together. I still remember the whole thing about him invading the ring. I think it was a Final Battle.
That's right.
And everyone, no, Jimmy, I just want to say one thing. I just want to say one thing. Fuck Ring of Honor! I was like, yes,
so good.
I like it because in lots of ways, Kevin Steen Kevin Owens is the embodiment of ADHD as well. Emotionally, his cup is either very full or very empty.
Yep.
I love the story. There is genuine justification of it, which is very important in wrestling. I'm going to quickly do a comparison to ICW. If you haven't seen this, go and check out. So we've got Rudo Lightning and Kenny Williams. Rudo is coming back into the kind of business side of things. His whole thing is, well, when I ran this place, things were doing really well. And then I just got kind of chucked out and everything went to shit. So there is a lot more layers to that story. But you start off with a statement that is essentially true. And that's where you build these things from. And that is what Kenny, so I beg your pardon, Kevin Owens has done. And he battled the bloodline, and then two people that he knows very well were standing up with the bloodline, and it's like, well, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck is this?
And do you know what I think works so well, and I think it obviously ties into the stuff with Kenny and Rudo, as you were talking about in ICW, but with Kevin, it does a really good job at blurring the lines between reality and obviously scripted professional wrestling, because I love the stuff that even he was doing with Michael Cole, and I like that they bring the commentators and stuff into it, calling out Michael Cole for his biased journalism and doing all these video packages on social media like he's talking to the fans, but doing it in a way where he's like, I'm justified. You guys should be with me, and it feels so real. And I love it. I love the whole direction it's going in. I think that Kevin Owens also, I think he does well as a heel or a face. When he's a face, you love him. When he's a heel, you love him. But I think he always does dramatically better when he's a bad guy. I think he just suits that down to a T. And have you seen that apparently now on all the Christmas house shows, he's going to be defending the Winged Eagle, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I love that.
I love it.
That is so good.
I absolutely love that he is now calling himself the real WWE champion, and I think that's, I mean, it's wherever they're going, they're clearly working on Kevin versus Cody 3. I love the character. It gives him a reason, it gives him an urgency, and that's what we need, because and the reason I say that is I don't know if that's going to be announced in Netflix or for the Royal Rumble or whatever. They need to give their top stars a reason to be there. And I'm a bit worried with the Netflix thing that they're going to be too busy focusing on all these guys, because a lot of people to feature on those shows, Ryan. A lot of people to give that showcase, that spotlight. So Kevin and Cody have a legitimate brawl, a legitimate gripe, and I think we're going to see a big crossroads, no pun intended. I think we're going to see a big crossroads at Netflix, and I'm dead excited about that. I'm glad you picked that one. That's a belter. That's a belter.
And very quickly, just before we do move on, I would like to say it, because I don't think we had the podcast running when it happened. It all spawns back to that moment. I think it's one of the best heel turns in WWE history, the off-camera attack backstage when the fans filmed it. Great, so unique, loved it. Keep that stuff up. I love it.
But I guess it's one of those things you could argue. Was it a heel turn, or was it just two people having a real world disagreement? Kevin Owens doesn't think he's the villain.
And I think he's right.
The key to any true villain, they do not think they're the villain. They can justify everything they do. The key to every true villain. I've always thought that. Right. Do you know, I was so torn in terms of what to do as a no for this one, because there's a lot of things going on. A lot of people talking about Tessa Blanchard returning to TNA. We're hearing some sad stories coming out of TNA as well just now. Apparently talent being asked to take a pay cut and leaving the company, and it's not looking good. People's contract renewals going into the next year. I hope that all gets addressed. I would hate to see a mass exodus from TNA wrestling. I think they're on a hot streak just now.
Exactly. I think that's the worst part about it, isn't it? You see stories like this and you think, oh man, just when things start to look, I mean, obviously we don't know what happens behind the scenes. We're not there. But just as things start to pick up in TNA and you're like, oh, they're on the right track, you hear stories like this and you're like, man, just I wish that there was something there that could just stop all this from happening.
But that's it. They could easily swoop up. I mean, you think about it. I don't know. Rhino might not necessarily be and saying that, the schedule is not 300 days on the road now, Ryan. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, hey, you're working every weekend or working a couple of days a week and you're home for the rest, or maybe doing TV or producing or something like that. A Rhino wouldn't be a bad face in NXT or something to put some of the younger talent over, or maybe he might find himself in some of the other shows. I don't know. The Tessa Blanchard thing, there is so much loaded into that I don't think I'm quite ready to talk about it. I think the biggest thing for me is, obviously, people can go through journeys in their life and they can have an element of redemption and they can go through counselling and all this type of things for bullying behaviour, but these I'll come in and say there's still the racist element of all that to tie in, and we don't know what the deal is with Tessa Blanchard. Some people want to work with her, some people don't. I don't know how I really feel about her being back on my TV, to be honest. It's not excitement. I'll say that.
Let me just say, when I seen that she was back, I met it with a heavy sigh more than anything else. But listen,
you think about the people that are on their way out.
Yeah.
You think about the people that are going out the door. They're clearly going to lose Jordan Grace next year.
That's a given. She's basically signed.
And they've got Tessa Blanchard.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all for second chances, but this feels like a third chance. And I
thought her chances in the big leagues of wrestling were long gone, to be quite honest. So I was pretty shocked to see her turn up.
And in a lot of respects, they should be.
Yeah.
Because he's a horrible, toxic behaviour. I remember that thing where she was TNA World Champion, and I don't know, I wonder if she's got photos on someone. That's all I can think of. I wonder if she's got photos or something, because like some of this just does not make sense to me.
Nah.
So I had been, although I was going to pick up on a quick point, I will say this to wrestling companies out there: stop getting cheap heat on ring announcers and commentators. It's cringe, man. I think it's the cringiest fucking thing out there. The Michael Cole thing is slightly different with Kevin Steen. I want to make that clear because they were telling part of the story.
Yeah.
And what the key of it was, I mean, Kevin, a lot like myself, can't really help himself when he's put in a certain situation to maybe be a little humorous. But I think it's all about being an asshole as well. So I think it was more about, well, they told a brilliant story together.
Yeah.
And so that's a little different. That's like JR interviewing Mick Foley.
Yeah.
That's like the Kane interview.
I was about to say the Kane interview. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that did huge things for both those guys.
Aye.
I didn't necessarily, I wouldn't have worked with anybody else than Michael Cole, so I get why they did that. And also, you get the feeling there is a begrudging friendship or something between.
I was about to say that it seems like Cody Rhodes and Michael Cole are tight knit, you know, and Michael Cole's always been such a huge fan, and then there's the whole thing where Kevin feels sort of betrayed because there was something there. There's a lot of story there which I like.
There's a lot going on, but I would say that I'm seeing that a lot in wrestling companies, particularly across North America and the Indies, and it's like fucking cringe, man. Like, if you're gonna do it like once in a while, but it doesn't lead to anything, and it's just cheap heat, so don't fucking do it. I think it's stupid. So that I'm gonna say that's my nose. I'm gonna say that's my nose.
That's your no. That's your no.
Yeah, that's my nose. Although the TNA thing, it was just a little side thing that I really wanted to comment on. Because, Ryan, like I say, I'm all about, I understand the need for second chances and I understand the need for redemption when genuine, but I don't think anyone's really feeling that with the Tessa Blanchard thing.
No, of course not. And there was a great tweet from Chelsea Green that got brought up. It wasn't a recent tweet. It was a tweet from a few years ago, I think. And she raised a point about Tessa Blanchard. Well, I don't think it was... She directly named her, but I think we could all take the assumption of who she was talking about. And it was really... She put it really well. You know, just about... Sometimes apologies can only go so far if they're actually genuine, and I don't know, that's always the vibe I've got with Tessa Blanchard. I guess, listen, we'll see where this run goes. Dave Meltzer's coming out and reporting that, like, people in WWE are interested in working with her. I don't know what the basis of that is. I don't know where he's found that. I don't know who these supposed people are, but I would be stunned to find out there's more than like 2 people in the locker room who would be happy to see her in WWE. It's a whole box, a can of worms to open up.
If I was going to play Rebooker T it very quickly on this for a second, and I'm not by any means, unless there was some form of publicly addressing this, which has never really happened. Somebody getting on a microphone and going, you were this, you were like on TV, and making it a kind of, and I hate using the phrase story because I'm a huge hater of bullying and toxic behavior the best of times. We see there's going to be a tweet about me tomorrow, but
don't say that, please.
No, I'm pretty sure I'm all right, to be fair.
I'm sure
But it could be the only way of really clearing this in people's eyes, I think. I mean,
just don't think they'd go there. They just probably wouldn't.
No, I don't.
You know,
I'd always be it's like always the stigma of the Hulk Hogan thing. Like, he never publicly came out and apologized.
Nah, he just made it worse for himself, didn't he?
He made it worse, and so did WWE by making him host WrestleMania 1 year. I always come down to, if Hulk Hogan had came out and had said, I was stressed, I was in the wrong place, I was trying to communicate with my son on a level that I thought it would be, it was at the lowest point in my life, I'm not forgiven, I'm not asking forgiveness because the words I said, and because I said them, and I cannot take those back, but you had to know that they did not come from a place of genuine hate. It was being... I was misunderstanding what I was doing. I was not talking from my soul. I was not talking from my heart. I can only ask for your forgiveness and know that I'm genuine in that, and that I will, and I'm going to be a better person. But I am owning this. I did this, and that I can never be allowed to forget that. See, if it had done that, I think the majority of wrestling fans would have went, all right, we should learn from that.
But instead, he became a born-again Christian, which he thought solved everything.
And it did not.
No,
and
it did not. It
did not.
Well, in summary, Tessa Blanchard, Hulk Hogan.
Good luck, cunts.
Yeah, pair of cocks. Right, well, I give a dislike then. Go on,
sir.
this might be seen as controversial, man. I don't know how this is going to be received, and I'm not even certain in my mind that it's a dislike. I just haven't made my mind up yet.
Okay.
I kind of wish Punk and Rollins wasn't on Raw. You know, I'm just calling it for how I feel right now. I don't know if it's just because I've had my hopes set of that being a WrestleMania main event for the last 2 years since not 2 years, the last year and a bit since Punk came back.
Uh-huh.
I know this Raw is essentially a mini WrestleMania. It's huge. It's arguably the biggest Monday Night Raw in the history of Monday Night Raw. And I understand why it's there. But I don't know, man. I just thought this was always a WrestleMania match, and I'm a bit sad that we're never going to... Because the thing is, I can see them rerunning it on a WrestleMania stage, but once it's been done so early, I'm not entirely sure they can keep the steam going in this one until Mania. I think that at this point, it's clear they might have other plans. Maybe they're going to pivot to Punk versus Roman. Maybe they're going to pivot to something else. I don't know. But I don't know, man. I just thought it was a WrestleMania match that we're now getting on Netflix for $6.99, and I don't know. No, it's not $6.99 nowadays. It's $9.99 or something, isn't it? I'm going back a few years there.
To clarify, you are still into these two working together.
Of course.
You're still into
massively.
This. You just wish that maybe we were taking a bit more time, and I guess it's one of those things like, so Mania's 4 months away.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if in the modern WWE, if they're going to turn around and go, all right, okay, well, we're going to go and we're going to start the work on WrestleMania in January. That's when the work's going to start. Or is that too soon? There's always that argument, isn't there?
Of course. You don't want to ruin something by dragging it out too long, of course.
Exactly. Like, used to be all that, the match, we're even getting Roman versus Solo.
Yeah. Which I did expect, to be fair. I think that one, for me, is a bit more... That's fine for me, because I don't think that's... I don't mind Solo. He's grown on me a lot. I think he's doing some really good work. I think he's came leaps and bounds, and I would never disrespect him. But
way ahead of where he should be.
Of course. But I don't quite know if Solo Sikoa is ready for the one-on-one match with Roman at WrestleMania. I think Roman is still a bit above that. I think he's working on, Cody levels, Rock levels, Punk levels, whereas Solo, I could see Solo maybe fighting like Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania. I could see that happening. So I don't mind Solo and Roman happening. I think this is a good stage to have that on. But I don't know. I think that with Punk and Rollins, there was a bit more... I think they could have took a bit more time. I think that they could have maybe let both of them play out some of their own individual stories heading into the Rumble. Like, both of them had the Rumble match to focus on, whatever. But listen, it'll be good. I know it will, and I'm so excited for it. I don't know. I just wanted it to be the big, oh my god, stream match, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, it's happening at WrestleMania, the main event of night one or whatever. And now it's just on Raw, which is...
All I can think of is that they are using this to potentially tease us for WrestleMania. Like, the only way this could be... So it's just a mess. The match doesn't happen because these two hate each other.
Yeah. There's always that possibility.
It's just a mess. And then maybe... But what would be Mania? These two seemingly hate each other so much. What would be Mania? Would it have to be career versus career?
That's what I always assumed.
For Seth to take some time off.
It's exactly, I suppose, because he's not really had... Even when he did have time off this year, it felt like he didn't have time off. It felt like he was rushed back right into things. I always assumed that by this point... I thought by the Royal Rumble, one of them would have been World Heavyweight Champion, and it would have just been simply World Heavyweight Championship match. It doesn't appear it's going to happen that way. I guess the main thing is, as I said... Not to be too heavy on the dislike thing, because I am still a fan of the overall thing that's going on, and I'm still a fan of the match and whatnot.
You just don't like it being on...
I just don't like it being on Raw, but the point I was going to say to kind of wrap up on it all is that it's completely gone from my mind. I can't believe this. I was going to say something I've completely forgot. Listen, they'll have a great match. It'll be fantastic. I just... hope that by WrestleMania both of them have got plans figured out, and I hope they're worthwhile. I don't know exactly what they're going to be. It looks as though they're teasing some sort of thing between Drew and Seth, which could be interesting. I don't think it'll lead to them having another match at Mania, because it happened last year.
I hope not.
but
I hope not.
I think it'll lead to something where they intertwine, and I don't know if they're maybe going to pivot on this whole Paul Heyman favour, which might lead to Punk and Roman, who knows. They have plenty of options open, and this is what I was going to say to wrap up, is like, despite me being a little bit annoyed that it's not going to be the Mania match that I thought it once was, and the fact it's on Raw, I trust Triple H to make good viewing out of it. I don't think they're going to make a hash out of it. I think it will still turn out good. I'm just a wee bit disappointed it's no Mania.
No, I get that, and I think you're absolutely right. I think fingers crossed on this one. Hey, look, we've got a long way to go. They need to hit this big on Netflix. I mean, they need to hit this big on Netflix.
Big deal.
I mean, this is what, 5 billion or something for 10 years?
5 billion for is it 500 million a year for the next decade? Which I mean, if you isolate wrestling into 10-year period, I think this is always a point I come back to, Billy. I've never really discussed it with you, but if you isolate wrestling into 10-year periods, they have never sustained a successful 10 years. If you go to the 90s, there was a vast period of the 90s it was poor. You go to the 2000s, there was a period of the 2000s it was poor. If you go to the 2010s, there was a vast period of the 2010s it was unwatchable. The 2020s is off to a fantastic start. Post-COVID anyway, since they brought crowds back in, it's been off to a fantastic start where the product has been some of the best it's ever been. Now it's just up to Triple H and the creative team to make sure they don't go through any of those periods that they went through in the 80s, 90s, 2000s and 2010s.
Because they're also, and we're going to do a whole episode on Netflix, we've got to, but I think you're absolutely right. I think I would imagine that when you get to the end of that 10 years on Netflix, Triple H might consider retiring. Of course. I know that sounds crazy, but I could see that.
I don't think he'll be anything like Vince. You know how Vince looked as though he just wanted to die in the role? Triple H is such a family-orientated guy that I think that he will be desperate to actually retire and put his feet up one day, unlike Vince.
Completely, and you know, it could even be sooner than we realise. It could even be sooner than I'm not saying I'd have put the willies up anyone, but I mean, it could be his kids are young. I get that as a dad. You don't want to turn around and go, oh right, so when I finish this, you're going to be 18. Mm-hmm. You know, or maybe that's when he thinks in their life they might. I'm just thinking there. But,
I think that there's always got to be the case of, I think that even just gradually he'll probably phase out of responsibilities and still be there, but just not to the same. He'll have people he can trust to
we're going to see changes in that 10-year period.
100%.
And it's going to be during one of the biggest periods of WWE's history. So to your point, I'm kind of there with you. I don't want us to spunk it all the way on these fantastic matches. Mm-hmm. All I'll say with the Netflix thing, we're going to need to see some impact and we're going to need to see some title changes. Moving on. Right, a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Obviously, there's talk of well, I think we've got to go straight into Saturday night's main event.
Saturday night main event review time. Let's do it.
Yes. Right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Fuck me, there was too many adverts. Oh my god,
my lord! And it was worse. It was worse for us because we had that stupid fucking back in a moment message that wasn't. It wasn't actually adverts.
I hated that. I mean, why did they not put something up? Anything up?
So, am I correct in saying
scratching his arse would have been better than that? Know.
So, am I correct in saying that NBC is the home of Saturday Night Live? That's usually what would be on in that slot if it was.
That's correct. Yes.
So, does Saturday Night Live get attacked by as many commercials as that? Because that must make that miserable to watch.
American, well, it's a great question actually. I mean, I'm a big fan of Saturday Night Live, but I only ever watch the sketches. I don't watch it live.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, American telly is filled with adverts. I mean, that's why sitcoms tend to be only 24 minutes long.
That's what I was going to say. So, have you ever watched so sometimes I'll put on AEW on a Wednesday, and Big Bang Theory is always on before it on the channel. What network is that on again? It's not TNT. It's TBC. What's
CW?
No. What's the championship called again? The one that fucking.
TNT.
TBS. That's it. So TBS. And it's always Big Bang Theory that's on before it. And I never realised up until AEW became a thing that in Americans, in the sitcoms, that they play a commercial in the last 5 minutes of the show. Like, the show's about to end, and then they throw it to a commercial, and they come back for the closing scene. Imagine they've done that here. Imagine you're watching, I don't know, fucking Benidorm on ITV, and it goes away just to come back to then go to the next. Oh, it's baffling.
Final scene, then the opening credit, then the closing credits, which are usually in a little box.
Yep.
And then it's advertising something.
Yep.
And then we'll get the opening credits of the next show, and then they take a fucking advert.
Yep. They love their commercials, man.
Just designed to keep you watching. Yeah, fuck me, man. I'm gonna live away. I kept falling asleep. I kept falling asleep.
I mean, I only watched the first hour, and I was like, right, okay, I'll watch the rest.
Every time that music came up, I was just like, oh god, jeez, like, what do you do? What do you do? If you went online, all anybody was doing is going, these fucking adverts, man, these fucking adverts. I guess in my head, hey, look, as a spectacle, I think it's really cool. It'd be like the equivalent of live cup final on BBC One.
Yep.
That's it. We're putting the cup final on BBC One. Two biggest teams, whatever it is, boom, there it is. Oh shit, this hasn't happened in a long time. So I thought it was really cool in that respect. I loved the retro vibe they gave it. I thought that was just fun. I mean, I hope they're going to keep that up.
Yeah, they will. I'm assuming they will.
I hope so. I love the commentary team. I thought they did a great job that night. Pat McAfee's been getting it fucking tight, it has to be said. Here's what I've got to say about Pat McAfee. I'm a fan of Pat.
Same.
But he does so much. Like, he does so much. I mean, he's doing college football. He's doing the Pat McAfee show every day. And he's doing WWE. And clearly he is delighted to be back. But I think he's going to need just a bit more.
Do you think he's spreading himself a bit thin with the amount he's got going on?
Maybe a little, man. Like,
I get the whole workaholic thing, and you like doing stuff. Yeah, I get that, but sometimes I think you've just got to be like, right, maybe I should think of one thing at a time. I mean, college football season is about to finish, isn't it? I think it finishes in March, I think. So
that's right.
You've obviously got that period where he won't have it on. But I get what you're saying, Billy. I do get what you're saying.
As somebody that does it himself, I can thoroughly speak to that. But also, Pat is going to be part of the broadcast team on Monday Night Raw, I believe. That's been announced.
Mm-hmm.
Pat, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. You might have to say no to some stuff. I
must admit, though, with Pat, I agree. I think that sometimes you can notice that, like, whatever. I think people have... I must admit, the folk online, though, I think have turned on him because I think it's became the cool thing to do, is just to... I think that people just like moaning for the sake of moaning, and Pat has become the victim of that. And I don't know if it's maybe... I don't know if it's maybe been politically motivated. I think that some people have picked up on some of the people that Pat maybe associates with, and they're starting to put two and two together, and maybe it's because he's a supposed Republican or whatever. I don't know if it's politically motivated. I'm not gonna say that that's the case, because I don't know that, but people seem to want to hate on him now, and it's like any sniff of him coming back, and it's like, I don't want him anywhere in the WWE, and I'm like, I like the guy, I like his commentary. I just think that, as you said, sometimes you can notice that there is maybe a dip in his work, but maybe that's just because it's got to take him a while to get back into it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's different
and also, as two broadcasters, you're behind that microphone for 4 hours.
It's hard, man.
There's a lot going on. So I'm a big fan of Pat, and I thought he did a great job. I liked him and Joe. I also say I loved Jesse and Joe.
I loved Jesse and Joe. Was great, man. So good.
A little bit of insight in between each match. Really liked that. I mean, that's something we've tried to do at ICW, but I liked it as a different element of it. It was enough time to reset things. Very old school, taking it back to WWE of yesteryear. I like that as a thing, a little bit of, hey, we're throwing it to Jesse and Joe, who then went, here's a little bit more insight, and it gives the broadcaster. I really like that. I thought it was great. But let's talk.
I tweeted saying that the vibes were immaculate, and I cannot wait for the next one, because retro, vintage, old school, that's me, baby. Anyway, as you said,
what's old is new? What's old is new, mate.
Exactly. Let's talk about the matches. Of course, that's what we've got to start with. Where do we just start at the top of the card? We want to go.
Let's start at the top.
So Drew and Sammy was first. It was just a pretty, standard rivalry match going into it. It wasn't too much, but I like where Drew's coming from in this. I love the whole this whole angle where he's like a hitman, and he's going for everybody who's associated himself with Roman Reigns. I think it's a great way to bring Drew back onto TV, and just going through these guys one by one, starting with Sammy. Next he's going for Jimmy or Jay or whoever it might be. I love this whole Agent 47 Drew McIntyre. I love it. And it was a good way to open the show, Billy. I thought it was ferocious, it was quick, and it was a good return match for Drew.
Yeah, Drew looked fantastic in the ring. Sami was an ideal opponent, the ideal opponent for him. Sami Zayn doesn't get his flowers enough. He just simply does not get his flowers enough at how bloody good it is. Oh, the bit where he made the bloodline crack and yeah, I'm talking about as a wrestler. Nobody, I think, maybe beyond Kevin Owens can transition from comedy to drama, from entertain. I mean, look at the Knoxville match at Mania.
Exactly.
How many people could pull that off? It was just fantastic. And him and Drew worked great together with a genuine grudge. I think we're fine now and we can move on from that. I actually worry about Sami a little bit as to what's next.
Yeah, I think, do you know what reassures me though, Billy? I feel like I've said that about Sami Zayn so many times. I feel like after everything, when he lost the IC title, I was like, oh well, what's next? And when he lost the rematch, oh, what's next? And even go years, I think I've done that with Sami Zayn. He's so bloody good. He's a cemented main event guy now. So I don't worry too much for him, but I do genuinely wonder what is next for him. But I'm excited for it nonetheless.
No, definitely. And it was a great match. Like I say, it's like a continuation of Drew's character as well, that we saw a little bit of on Busted Open. Big shout out to the Busted Open boys over the weekend when they did their live Christmas stream. And again, adding real emotional depth. And I know Drew a little bit. I'm not going to pretend like we're, bunk buddies or anything like that. But I've got to know Drew a little bit. And one thing I can tell you is that he is legitimately a family man, and that means so much to him as his family, his dad, his brother, and of course his gorgeous wife. There's a lot to it than that, and I liked what he said, even being a little bit of a pot shot to the people on the panel. It's like, when I'm done because I'll have done everything I want to do. Yep. I won't be like these guys sitting here want to come back for one last thing. When I'm gone, I'm gone. Yep. And it's quite some people went like, oh God, is Drew quitting? No, I think it was much more of a threat than a sub story, if you like.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what the IWC think. I'm going to do everything that I want to do. This is a man that's been multiple time champion, but still, I think has so much. Drew's been the MVP, even with his time off of 2024 for me, taking nothing away from Punk.
Yeah. If we were to sit down and do, I've been thinking about this for a while now, Billy. If we were to sit down at the end of the year and do kind of like an awards special podcast where we were dishing out who was our wrestler of the year, who was our blah 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 blah. Drew is my MVP of 2024, hands down. I don't think there's a question about it. He's been the top dog. His work has been fantastic, and as you said, I don't think this is any sort of foreshadowing of a imminent exit. I think this is more of a, I'm only getting started again and get ready for it.
I think it was good. Right, what we got next, sir?
So after that, we had Liv Morgan, Io Sky Women's Championship match. Liv Morgan retained. I thought it was a really good match, I must say. I enjoyed it. I think they're two good workers. And I wasn't expecting anything too over the top. I think people get their hopes up too high for a show like this, which is genuinely a bona fide house show. Like, it's just a kind of glamorized house show in a sense. But I liked it. I don't know about you, but Liv Morgan, once again, I think doing great. The only thing that got me going a wee bit was at the end of the match, hearing Rhea Ripley's theme play, walking out, facing off. I hope that that's coming to an end soon. But the match between Liv and Io was great.
Can I talk about Rhea Ripley's stance?
Go on.
She had this weird, like, standing in such an unnatural way to make herself look big, like a cat. And I just was like, what are you doing, Rhea? What's happening, Bill?
The thing is, she doesn't need to do it. Liv Morgan's tiny.
She didn't need to. Here's the thing. Champions need to have defenses.
Yep.
That's it. They need to have successful defenses.
It's like a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because if they don't defend their title, people moan, they're not defending it, and then they defend it and win. Oh, they just win every match. I'm like, what you wanting? Like,
what you wanting? What are you wanting? And that's the thing. Like, yeah, every challenger should be viewed as a bona fide threat. I don't know if I really thought that was the case here. I think there's more to tell in Io's story, but I liked it. I thought it was great. this is unbelievably only her sixth defense of the title since winning it. Did you know that?
Well, she won
Apart
it.
from house shows, I mean, that's
Yeah,
going to be boring.
of course. She won it. Was it the Saudi King of the Ring show? Was that where she won it? And I feel like that's obviously been months now, and she's been involved in so much like the war game stuff. And obviously, when I was at Bash in Berlin, it was the mixed tag match. So like, she's in the same position as who was it I was going to say there. Cody, who has found himself kind of caught up in tag team matches and war games matches and not defended in a few shows. But listen, the only thing that lacked for me in this match was probably the story going into it. Felt a wee bit rushed. I think they could have done better making Io feel like she had a chance, because the writing was kind of on the wall from the start, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's fair. But hey, listen, like I say, a champion's going to have successful defenses. Yeah. That's just the way it is. Suck it up is what I would say to anyone. Just suck it up. What else we got, mate?
So that went on to the triple threat match between Gunther, Finn Balor, and Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship. I'll let you kick this one off.
Well, first of all, I have no issue with the winner. I want to make that clear. Yes, I love that Gunther. Lots of people turning in saying Gunther's turning face. I kind of hope he doesn't, to be honest.
I don't think he will.
At least not yet. At least till he's a begrudging face, if you like.
I don't think he'll turn face until there's credible people to come against him that are heel, and I don't think there's many yet.
Yeah, I just don't think we're there yet. Maybe, well, I'll come back to that in a little bit. But I love the fact he wasn't smacking hands as he was coming down the aisle. I thought he was, again, just so goddamn good.
Amazing.
Damian was great. Finn looked fantastic as well. Played that game really, really well. I would love to see Finn in a one-on-one with Gunther. I would love to see that maybe be the way Gunther loses the belt, because you wouldn't think that, and how much would that piss off Damian Priest that Finn was the one that got to the title. But no, I thought that everyone did a great job. It solidified Finn again for me and where he needs to be as a genuine main event solo threat.
Yep.
I think that's where we need. I don't know how we're finishing up him and Damian Priest, but I'm ready for it to finish. I'm definitely ready for it to finish.
I've got a couple of things to say in relation to Finn Balor and how buzzing I am over this past week. One of the things I want to get out of the way, though, very quickly, and I hate it, I never want to see it again, that stupid bag that he wears over his head. I'm not a fan of it. The entrance bag, whatever that is, no for me. Think it looks ridiculous, and I don't like it. He's a handsome man. He should be showing off his face.
Oh, you know? He's not.
He's not. Do you not think so? I think Finn's a gorgeous looking fella.
Fair enough, man. Who am I to talk? Who am I to talk?
Look at him. He's like a
garden bridge from Goats crossing it.
I think Finn is a handsome man. Like, woof,
good for you.
Great looking fella. Anyway, point aside, bag off the heat, please, sir. The other thing he needs to do is, when he returns to being a solos wrestler, is get the pants off, right? And I don't mean that in a sexual way. It's starting to sound like I really fancy him. Get your trunks back on, son. And finally, point number 3. I know it's not related to Saturday Night Main Event. We're taking it to Monday Night Raw here. This was what I was going to use for my like this week, but I went for Kevin Owens instead. I am so fucking happy. So happy that they have lost the tag team championships. Number 1, buzzing for the War Raiders, because I think they deserve a run, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. God, that's a whole conversation. I'll save it for next week, maybe. I want to get talking about tag team wrestling in WWE because they have
love that.
They've got the titles on the right people now. But anyway, that aside, so delighted that they've lost the titles. Surely the end of Judgment Day is coming soon, and I, for one, cannot wait, Billy. Cannot wait.
I feel like it's. I mean, like I said, Finn and JD as a kind of duo, as opposed to like Freebird's kind of a duo, I think works. I don't think we need them as a tag team unless they're in tag team matches, but they don't need to be a tag team. Carlito, let's give Carlito something else to do. I might have a suggestion for that later on. And I know lots of people hate on Raquel Rodriguez. I really like Raquel Rodriguez. Keep her will live. I think that's the whole Diesel Sean thing. I really like her. I really like her.
I think she's boring.
I think she's a handsome woman.
So I get judged for saying that Finn Balor's a handsome man, and you're banging on about, no, joking. Yeah,
doesn't do it for me.
it was. I enjoyed the match. I think one of the big takeaways for me in this match was it's helped that whole storyline that they had going with Gunther, being that he was kind of down on himself and doubting what he could do and if he was at his best. I mean, he's beaten two of the top guys in Monday Night Raw in one match, and not only beat them, but fucking made a meal of them. And I think that's great for him.
Great way, I should say, to rebuild him post Saudi show as well. Of course, he would doubt himself. The better man won. It's a very proud man that says that. You have got to doubt yourself because you've still been beaten by someone else in the company who claims to be, the top of the game. Yeah, I thought he's done very well. Gunther has a legitimate claim to want another match with Cody as well, so I like that, and I thought it was great. I have no complaints about it. I thought they did a great job. Could have even main evented, but I'm glad it didn't.
Do you think that, just before we move on to the next match towards the end of the card, do you think that they haven't announced Balor and Priest yet, have they? Do you think that's going to be one of the final matches made for Raw? And maybe that's where it finishes for good. I mean, if it does need to finish for good, and I think it needs to finish for good sooner rather than later. I think Raw would probably be the logical place to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that concerns me is what's left.
Yeah, one of them has to just lose, and it needs to be lost clean. There can't be any interferences. Yeah. I think that's about it. But the question is, who does win? Because I don't think any of them losing is a great idea, so it's difficult. I don't know, but it does need I don't think they can drag this on any longer where they're both at each other's neck. It needs to end somewhere.
The only thing I could think of, and I don't know if he's a big enough deal, he is to the wrestling community, but is Penta's debut is imminent, so we hear.
Yep.
Unless he in some way goes into a feud with Damian. But even then, it feels like, well, let's close this one. I don't think that. I think I would like to see closure in this one, as opposed to, that's, Finn got the win there. Now Damian's going straight into the feud with this. Damian's not been world champ, has been not world champion long enough to think that it would feel like a jump down the card.
Yeah.
These years worth of work that's gone into Damian and Finn going straight into a feud with Penta. While great, I'm sure. I don't think would be the way to go, but hey, we'll wait and see. I just wonder what's next. I wonder if this is a Rumble match. Let's maybe keep it for a Rumble match.
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm worried about Raw being too stacked.
Yeah, I know. You don't want to blow your load in the first time. First,
no.
Fucking, you know what it's like, yeah. So
no, not at all. Never blow my load.
Right, Chelsea Green reaching United States Championship.
Come on, Chelsea!
Yes,
come on,
Chelsea! Chelsea. That's the famous Chelsea chant, in case you didn't know. Huge fan of the win. Fantastic, great, deserved. Yeah, I do. Listen, all I've got to say is I'm just delighted, and that's it. I was really hoping that Chelsea would win this. She was so deserving of it. And it's a great first United States champion. Forever will I remember Harley Race, of course. So that means forever I will remember Chelsea Green.
There you go. I love that. Do you know, the thing is, it's also a great pivot in their title picture.
Yeah.
It's a great change of pace. Chelsea is all round. It's fantastic in the ring. Great entertainer.
Absolutely.
Great antagonist. I love her pairing with her and Viper. Can't believe I still call her Viper after all these years. Piper Niven.
Look at you, Mark, referring to her as her indie name.
Well, at least I don't call her Dewdrop or whatever. That was her name, wasn't it? Dewdrop?
Dewdrop, that's right. That
was so... Although, in all fairness, I always... She fucking owned it.
Do you not remember the match she had with... was it Sasha Banks at the Royal Rumble? And it was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
That was under Dewdrop.
She loved it. I mean, it would be a fun T-shirt to have.
But that's another thing, though. That allows the chance of a potential kind of lovers tiff between the two soon for the title. Who knows? There's so many possibilities. And I think it's a refreshing title holder in the company.
Yeah. I'm very excited about it, and I love that. Like you say, I love her tiff down the line, but also, is it just that two pals just support each other? And one's, I mean, it worked with Shawn and Diesel for a long time. It worked with the Freebirds. I keep using them as an example for a long time, and they had little mini feuds and they got back together, which infuriated people even more. I love it. Chelsea Green is a great. And the thing is, Chelsea can be a very different champion to the other champions that we have on the lineups. She can be the one that's a little more devious. She can be the little one that's a little more deceitful. She can be the one that does the old Shawn Michaels, grabs the belt and just takes off up the aisle. And
I missed that. I don't think there's been enough of that in recent years. So I'm really excited for it.
So Chelsea, I think, is perfectly placed to do that. Give us a little bit of a heel run with the championship that Bayley never really got to do 100%. And I would love to see that. It's been a mixed year with championship reigns, so Chelsea's a great shout for me.
Yeah, and then we move on to the main event: Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens for the undisputed WWE Championship, which obviously led to the post-match package pile driver, which very interested to see what it does with Cody, if it's going to write him off TV. No idea.
Well, there's a lot of reporting, isn't there? I mean, is this the way? I've got a question for you. I noticed the IWC over particularly the weekend, talking about how bad Cody Rhodes' reign has been. Have I missed something?
I'm not having it. And we have this conversation all the time. Cody Rhodes' run has been fantastic. And I'm going to refer back to this. I brought this up in the first episode, Billy, and I'm so passionate about it. Wrestling fans, in particular online wrestling fans, have been infected by what I call bloodline brain rot, where everything has to be cinema. And we're so used to Roman Reigns' 4-year title reign, where he turned up 3 fucking times a year to defend it. Suddenly, now that we have a champion who's winning every month, people are like, oh my god, this shouldn't be happening. Nobody can beat Cody Rhodes. We've got a super invincible champion here. No, he's just a defending champion. He's just somebody who's there working all the time. And that's not me throwing shade on Roman Reigns, because he's one of the greatest superstars in the history of WWE. He's arguably on a Mount Rushmore, for Christ's sake. He's incredible. Cody Rhodes' reign has delivered, and I get it, some of the stories haven't been great, but I had this conversation the other day with one of my best mates. It's not a Cody Rhodes problem. It's not Cody Rhodes' fault that SmackDown hasn't got a plethora of top heels. By all accounts, I think that the story with AJ Styles was really good. I liked it, especially going into Clash at the Castle.
You should have seen more.
I really liked it. I don't think the story with Solo Sikoa was all that great. I think it was maybe a bit rushed. Once again, not a Cody Rhodes problem. Still done his job. Still had a good match at SummerSlam. He was then put into all the stuff with the Bloodline, where he wasn't having title matches because he was involved in the tag team match with Roman. Once again, not a Cody Rhodes problem. He's not the one that's booking his stories. And finally, I think this story with Kevin Owens has been the highlight of the reign. I think it's been the best of the reign so far. So for me, to claim that this title reign has been shit is it's a victim of bloodline brain rot for me, because I think it's been fantastic.
Great way of putting it. Absolutely agree on every point of that. I kept seeing it over the weekend. It'll be, people are booing Cody. Well, they're cheering. They give a shit about Kevin, which for a long time with title reigns and any other big companies was a big problem. People did not give a fuck about the challengers. If people are turning on Cody like they did Hogan, well, he's had a 2-year babyface run. For me, I am down for heel Cody.
Absolutely.
Can he always be The Rock? And if you consider this, that Cody has had a face run a lot longer than 2 years, going all the way back to AEW, going all the way back to his independent stuff. And his character at times does ooze a little bit of heelish qualities. I mean, he can be a little smug and a little overbearing and what have you, but so could John Cena, to be honest. So people are always going to find faults. I just got really confused by this, going, what have I missed? Is this me and this is personal taste? Is this an old man thing or something? Am I missing something? But then it was like, no, I know that this has been a good reign. If it ended tomorrow, it would be fine. If it ended tomorrow,
what I will say is, and I think this is why it annoys people, right? I think this is what it's brought up the conversation so most. Do I agree that the wrong person won on Saturday? Yes. I
right?
do. I think Kevin Owens should have won. I was on the kind of bandwagon that I think that it could have been doing with even a short, even if Owens held it until the Rumble and Cody won it back. I think that could have been great. I think it would have allowed them to keep going with whatever the WrestleMania plans might be for Cody, and it would have added that sort of chase factor back to Cody. Where, let's admit it, faces sometimes are better chasing titles rather than holding titles. But that I don't think that takes away from the. I think people are just so reactionary. We live in this world where everything has to be so TikTok-like, where things need to last fucking 10 seconds and things need to be constantly changing. You've got to be constantly scrolling for change, Billy. And I think people are just desperate for change, when really, Cody's reign has been great and it doesn't need change. Would I have liked Kevin to win? Of course. But I'm not upset. I'm not angry, and I'm certainly not going to say his reign's been terrible.
I think you've nailed it there. It would have been a great ending to the story in that respect. If Kevin, just the controversy of people throwing rubbish into the ring, people cheering the heel, the idea of Kevin holding up that belt as legitimate. The shock, he package pile drived him. Cody's leaving on a stretcher. Kevin's is your new champion. I do like what they're doing. I do like the story of him defending the Eagle Wing. I love that, or the Winged Eagle, I should say, which is the second retro championship that Cody Rhodes has brought back. If anyone's keeping score out there, he brought back he brought back the old IC. Back the old IC. So, and I thought it was a great match. I thought the guys did a wonderful story telling it. Kevin just missed by a whisker. Came down to Cody Rhodes just being a better defending champion on the night. It was a great story. The dueling, you like a hotbed atmosphere with the crowd. Of course.
Kevin Owens should be champion, no, because the referee was down and out for the count of 3. He should be champion. So it adds to the story. Kevin Owens is just so frustrated. He should be champ.
You want to see, so again, comes back to what we said right at the start. He has a legitimate gripe. Which the people that hate Cody can get on board with. People that love Cody go, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
But he does have a genuine claim. So it's an interesting one. I thought it was a great match, wonderful way to end it. If you're ending a pay-per-view with lots of questions or just complete satisfaction, it needs to be one of the two. Boom, that's where we are. So yeah, I love that. Send people home unhappy.
Yeah. And I guess sorry, what were you saying?
No, that was it really. Just sending them home unhappy.
Right, well, I was going to wrap up, just to wrap up the talk about Saturday night's main event. If you were to kind of summarise your thoughts on the show, are you looking forward to the next one? What was your final takeaway from the show as a whole?
I am looking forward to the next one. The adverts were a pain in the ass, to be honest. That might slightly put me off watching it live, if I'm completely honest with you. However, I wouldn't want to miss out, and I thought it was a great night's entertainment. I think it ticked a lot of boxes. I think it ticked boxes for the casual wrestling fan who are watching wrestling on those networks for the first time in a long time.
Yep.
I mean, it's a long time since Saturday night's main event has been on there. I came away with a bit of satisfaction. I won't lie. A lot of people complained about the pace. I quite liked the pace. Like, it went along at a fair click. I think they could I think they can perfect it. I think
the way that I summed it up is I really like the mix, I should say the hybrid between TV and PLE. I've always thought that PLE, we spoke about this in the last episode we done. PLEs can be too long. They waste too much time. They waste too much time. Whereas this was like a PLE with TV pacing, where the matches were short, snappy, they got straight into the next thing. I think there's just some ironing out they need to do, and that's it. I think maybe just, number one, cut down in the commercials if possible. I know that's not easy. I know that's that's contractual. That's it's not like they can just go, oh, let's scrap this ad break. They can't just do that. But if they can iron out, and they'll learn as they go, and if they can make it feel a little bit more... do you know, once again, it's impossible they can't just add time because it's NBC and they've been given a designated slot. I think it could have done with maybe an extra half an hour just to kind of help with the rush of it all. But they'll learn. Yeah. They'll learn, and I like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe an extra half hour, 20 minutes, something like that, just to give us a little bit of a breather. And because even at that, it was we would go straight from a match into Joe and Jesse given there, and you didn't want to miss a word of what Jesse Ventura was going to say.
Of course not. Can I just to wrap up finally on my point? What I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, I didn't enjoy it. Nothing happened." Blah blah. And I'm like, you need to accept that Saturday Night Main Event always was at a point, and still is to a necessary extent. It is a glorified house show. It's a televised house show. It's nothing really. It's not a PLE. It's not a fucking WrestleMania, Royal Rumble. If you're expecting loads to happen, if you go through the history of Saturday Night Main Event, it's not as if it's been groundbreaking title changes and whatnot. They're a certain type of show for the casual audience. And it's not like it's WrestleMania. So you've got to lower your expectations. You're just going to be disappointed all the time. That's
over the years we've seen some controversial angles play out on Saturday Night's Main Event. I mean, that was the famous one where Hogan lost the title to Andre with the evil Hebner twins. And so, hey, if we can do that and it pushes people towards Netflix, which I think a lot of this had to do with as well. I'm into it. And what I really liked about this one is it had a completely different identity to the PLEs, to SmackDown, to Raw.
I like
this felt like something completely different, and I was 100%. Well on board for that. If it had just been another glorified episode of SmackDown, I wouldn't have been interested. So this felt different, and I applaud the WWE for that.
Yes, and I cannot wait. So the next one is on January 25th from
not that far away, really, when you think about it.
Frostback Center in San Antonio, Texas. And I believe they're aiming for 4 a year, I think they were saying.
I heard Jesse Ventura said he had been contracted for 4 a year. I think 4 sounds about right. One in January, one... Oh, fuck.
I'm assuming it'll be January kind of summery time, maybe like fall and then December. I'm assuming that might be but we'll wait and see.
I think you're right. Let's do some questions, shall we?
Yes, let's wrap up this baby.
We've had a whole bunch of interesting ones in. So I think we've covered, it was a lot of questions about Saturday Night's Main Event.
Yep.
I think we've covered a lot of that, to be honest. I like this one from Jake McFarlane. I don't know if you've seen this. Who's your early pick for breakout star of the year? Hard to look past beyond Javon Evans with more TV time, but my heart still says it's Daniel Garcia.
Really good question.
I don't think it's Daniel. I think to be breakout star of the year, I feel like he had that.
Yeah.
I
get what you mean. So you feel like his breakout year might have been last year?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay, right.
I do. I feel this year, well, he's won the title.
Yep.
And he's had the feud with Jack Perry, who people fucking has got all the wrong type of heat with people. It's really weird. I've
got my answer.
Have you got your answer? What's yours? What do you think?
I believe this would be counted as a breakout year. People might want to pull me up about this, but I'm going to go for Sol Ruka of NXT, who has been unbelievable. She would be my breakout star year. I think she's a future star, man. There's no doubt about it. She's going to be main event caliber. Her. I seen CM Punk pulling up the folk for using the word moveset, so I better not use moveset. Her arsenal, or her arsenal of maneuvers is honestly unbelievable. The stuff she can do is insane. And before this year, I never really knew who she was. So for me, she would be my breakout star of the year because I genuinely get excited to watch her matches. So yeah.
I'm going to go with something a bit different. Even though he's been around a few years, I'm going to pick Ridge Holland.
Oh, right, okay. He kind of had like a re-emergence of a year, didn't he? Must admit, never been a huge fan, but he in recent months, he's certainly kind of got me going, okay.
I think in terms of going from, well, where does this guy go, to going like, oh, this guy is a proper entity. A proper threat to the title. He's in the middle of some hot storylines in NXT just now. He's always been bloody talented, but it feels like things coming together. Even though I know he had the time on the main roster, I just feel like his NXT work it feels like a proper reinvention. It feels like a proper reinvention of what I suspect they probably viewed Ridge Holland being when they signed him. We want like a Brock Lesnar. We want that guy. We want that guy to be entertained. But as the way the system works, and sometimes you've got to trust the process, he's learned and he's got better and better and better and better. Yeah, I'm going to say Ridge Holland for that respect, even though they're definitely folk in AEW. Jake, I get your point about Daniel Garcia. I don't know how big a fan I am, to be honest.
I've never been a huge Daniel Garcia fan until recently. When I've started liking him a lot more. But he's certainly, look, listen, it depends how you define breakout year. I think he is definitely a shout. I think your shout is fantastic. Javon Evans is obviously a huge shout as well. He's up there. Yeah. He's been great. A couple of the other guys in NXT, I think, because there was somebody I wanted to see, but he's not necessarily a breakout. But I feel like this year he's really won me over. Do you know who this is a personal breakout star for me this year.
Okay.
Tony D'Angelo, because he never done it for me. Never done it for me up until I went to Stand and Deliver in April.
Yeah.
And he was obviously in the title match. And, oh my God, he won me over. Huge. And he's had a great year.
It's the Ridge Holland thing as well. These are guys that have been in the system, but there's been a jump. There's been a jump in what they can do, and I think he's just fantastic. I think he and Tony D'Angelo, it's a gimmick that could have died.
Oh yeah,
really quick.
Yeah. They've done some good tinkering to it.
Yeah, survived the NXT 2.0. They've really leaned into it, surrounded himself with some great individuals. Yeah, I think it's Tony D'Angelo. I have no arguments with that. But I have to say, NXT's women's division is probably
insane.
Someone asked us the other day if do you think Shawn Michaels would be in charge of the women's division or what have you in the main roster? I'm like, hey, I'd be very interested to see it, but at the moment, I can't really fault what they're doing in NXT. It is fantastic. So if I were to give a real breakout star, maybe I'd say the NXT women's division.
Just as a general entity.
It's incredible.
It is. It's unbelievable.
It's incredible. Give them their own show. Give them their own.
They're great, man. They're great, man. They take up so much time on NXT that it essentially is their own show. They're that good. They're that good, man. They're that good.
And it's smashing the fuck out of AEW, so we can move
so
from that.
Just before we do move on to the next question, your final answer would be Ridge Holland, and I'm going to say Ridge. Okay, you're going Ridge, and I'm going Sol Ruka. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I got a question from Ian, who asked, with Punk now feuding with Rollins, my slight concern is whether they can go the levels that the McIntyre and Punk feud went to. Where do you think this could go where it cuts real deep and we as the viewer are invested? I think that's a really good question, to be fair, because I don't think that I necessarily expected anything to be bigger or better than Punk and Rollins. And then Punk and Drew blew everyone's mind. It was rivalry of the year, undeniably. And honestly, by the time Punk retires, it might go down as my favourite Punk feud since, maybe not of all time, but maybe since his return to wrestling in 2021. So
I think you've nailed it.
Yeah.
I think it's a genuine problem for them. It's a difficult second album.
Yep.
All I can think, because I mean that one was quite personal at times, unless we go outright, because people just disliking each other and calling each other on their toxic behavior and their bullshit over the years. I mean, Punk's been quick to go, well, you know, when you were here and you were Seth Rollins just fresh up being Tyler Black, I helped you not get fired. Yep. I helped you get on the main roster. And when I left, I just didn't want to do anything with you, which I get. Like, you leave a job, man, and then someone from the job that you fucking hated messages you might not be that quick to message back. It's like, kind of dealing with my own shit. You're the star of your own movie. So everyone's got legitimate right. I just don't know how much I really give that much of a shit about Seth Rollins.
I love Seth. I love Seth. Nah, wow, that is. I wasn't expecting to hear that.
The reason I'm saying that is, like I've said with the McIntyre feud.
Okay.
I cared about that.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult second album. So it's like, right, Seth, how do I want to see you punch crap at each other?
Yeah. So they've got some winning over to do for Mr. Billy Kirkwood.
They've got some winning over to do. They've definitely got some winning over to do. This could be the feud that brings AJ back.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, she's the only person that really knew Punk during that time away.
Yeah.
Just imagine Rollins hitting the curb stomp on AJ.
Oh God Almighty, that would be. I love that shit. You know, not to sound like I don't love men beating up women, just to make it clear. But I love like the whole Randy Orton doing it to Stephanie or Alexa or whatever. I love that when it gets so that level of personal. Like it's great.
Punk hitting the GTS on Becky.
Oh yeah, I know, because she's due back, isn't she? Like,
yeah, even Punk coming out and going like, "You just stole Ric Flair's gimmick. You got lucky. Best thing that ever happened to you when Nia Jax busted your nose open."
Oh wow, you thought of this?
You know, this could get nasty.
Yep.
It could get to the point where maybe, let's say hypothetically, Punk beats Seth on Monday Night Raw, and he goes, "Done. Got burger fish to fry."
Mm-hmm.
But Seth can't take that. It's like I think
that's the way to make it go. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And that's like one of my favourite stories ever. So if they can find a kind of fresh take on that, I think it could work so well. And I just think I would like them to be allowed to go to the levels. And I think they're two guys that listen. Seth has been. I'm not going to pull any punches here. I think Seth has been. I know that it's always promos, obviously, you know, scripted or whatever. But I think there's a huge element of truth in what Rollins says, where for the last decade, he has had the company in his back. Yeah. So for that, I think that him and the star that is CM Punk should be allowed to go to the same levels as Dwayne and Cody were allowed to go to. I think we should be allowed to see them use colour. I think we should be allowed to see them maybe drop a couple of naughty words in there. I think they should be allowed to blur the lines of reality and scripted television to a non-PG element over a few times in this rivalry.
Seth comes across as the whiny little brother.
Yeah.
So let's use that.
These are two guys that deep down want to fuck, you know, but they need to get past that level.
I'm so proud of you. Do you know that? I see that observation. I am genuinely proud of you. That's like the type of shit I would come out with. I am delighted.
I'm glad.
It's taken a year, but I finally rubbed off on him.
You know it's true though. They deep down, they want to kiss, man.
That's the story we're talking. Oh God, imagine that. Imagine that. If you really want to break boundaries on Netflix, oh my God. You really want to make boundaries.
Yes.
But Punk thumbing it in after the bell. But point is, let's go for it. I just don't feel like I'm there yet. That's why, to go back to where we were with Punk versus Seth on Netflix, it's like, this has to be a step on the ladder. It can't be the final destination.
Yeah, I agree.
It can't be, because I'm keen to watch them fight, but I'm not ravenous to watch them fight. You know, and that's what I need. I don't feel enough about Seth going into this yet. Like, I really like what your motivation beyond the fact that you just don't like him.
Yeah.
You know, and you feel slighted in some way.
Because I loved that line in Punk's promo where he was like, you've spent the last year thinking about me and I've not thought about you once. And I'm like, Seth should play on that. Let it make spiral from it, you know. Don't just be coming out and saying, I don't like you, Punk, I've never liked you. Like, spiral from these comments, literally go off the rails and give us a reason to be like, this is going to be mad, this is going to be nuts.
Aye, completely. Got one last one in for a signing that we haven't talked about, but we've talked about a little bit, with the potential oncoming signing of Penta. Who would you like to see first feud with be a statement signing from the company if it does happen? Right, I have got a rebooker tee up for you with Penta.
Okay, right.
Penta needs a mouthpiece.
Right,
Penta needs a mouthpiece.
That's okay. Yeah, I can agree with that.
I've got a couple of potentials.
Right. Okay.
Someone had said Carlito. I disagree with Carlito. Do you know how I want you to sign? Cesar Duran from Lucha Underground.
Okay. I know you're a Lucha Underground man. I know you're an avid enjoyer.
People were dying.
Yep.
But he's been doing some stuff in MLW. You want to give someone a bona fide mouthpiece. that does not have anything to do with anyone currently in the product, but can also be that little conduit verbally. Because Penta, I'm sure, has done amazing things with his English. He could be that initial guy until we need somebody to make Penta a big deal. Because as much as people talk about the Lucha Brothers coming in, which is a signing that I was very excited for, Rey Fenix isn't coming in for at least 6 months to a year.
He's not going to be here until, well, he's in Tony Khan's basement until, what, like November, I think? So
something like that.
So I think we're waiting a while, man.
Let's go all in on Penta, who is probably the most exciting luchador outside Dragon Lee that they have signed in the last 5 years. People know he is. He's so instantly recognizable as well. I mean, that's t-shirts, man. There's so much going on there.
He could be the next, like, I feel like they've missed it a few times trying to build their next lucha star, their next merch seller like Rey Mysterio. This could be the guy, man. This could be the guy.
This could be the guy that could be, how mental is this? Could be Dominic Mysterio's backup.
Oh, man. I'm dying to see if something plays out with Dominic Mysterio, sorry. As long as it's not like the same storyline, like, oh, my dad this, my dad that, but I think there could be something special that works there, especially when he moves on from Judgment Day. Yeah.
So it's, if we're going to sign Penta, we need to give him a mouthpiece. I'm suggesting Cesar Duran.
I think that's a good shout.
Get away from, or because I can't think of anybody else.
Well, I'm scrolling the WWE roster page because I was going to maybe try my best to offer an alternative or a challenge to the mouthpiece.
Yeah.
But there is genuinely not, like, the only guy that's kind of jumped out at me is Mr. Stone from NXT, Big Robert Stone. But I say Big Wee Robert Stone, but I it's not like I'm like, oh, that's the guy. He's just the only one here. Because it's not like you're going to have Paul Heyman or Paul Ellering or any of these other guys. Like, I just think that they do need to go for some sort of outside hire for a mouthpiece. I don't think there's anybody necessarily WWE employed.
Robert Stone, why has he not been put with Pretty... what are their fucking names again?
But Pretty Deadly.
Pretty Deadly.
Pretty Deadly.
He's a manager.
Pretty Deadly.
Robert Stone with Pretty Deadly.
I don't think it's a bad combination. I just don't think they need a manager. I think they're great.
Not really, but I think it'd make fun telly.
Yeah, it would. Oh, no, wait, because he's got that comedic edge to him, which you obviously seen with Von Wagner, which worked really well. That's why maybe he wouldn't be suited to someone like Penta. He's got a serious side. He's got a serious side, but like I think he works better with somebody where he can have that comedic edge. And that's not like I could see him partnered really well with like fucking Chelsea Green.
I mean that would be fantastic.
I could see that working really well.
Yeah. That would be great. That would be great. But the only other person I could think of off the top of my head was Chavo Guerrero.
Oh well, not a bad shout. Not a bad shout.
But I think I'd rather it was someone whose only duty is I have signed the biggest free agent luchador on the planet. Everywhere Penta goes, he gets to the top of the card and he wins championships. And him taking on Damien or being involved in that thing could work really well. Him just challenging Penta versus Braun Breaker. Fucking
it's got to be interesting. So if you were to try and answer the question on his like first challenger, first opponent, who do you think it will be?
I would like it to be somebody big. As much as earlier on I went like, oh, I'd rather it wasn't Damien. It wouldn't be a bad feud.
The only thing is with Damien is who would be face. Who would they need to make Penta heel?
I think Penta screams heel to me.
Same. It's just obviously if we're talking about that kind of merch seller, luchador aspect of things, like it's hard to gauge whether he'll be face heel coming in.
It's a different world now, you know? I mean...
of course. Of course.
Penta's cool. That's the one. Like, I hate saying it. Like, it makes you sound so fucking ridiculous, but Penta is cool as fuck.
Oh, he is. He's just fucking cool.
If you saw somebody walking down... If you did not know anything about wrestling, and you saw somebody with Penta's mask on a T-shirt, you'd go, what the fuck is that? You know, on its own. So I think him coming in and working as a heel, or maybe just a mercenary, he's coming in to take out Damien Priest.
I I like would it be too soon to push him straight into an IC title picture with Braun? That you brought it up, it sounds tasty.
It'd be tasty, but probably it would be. I mean, I guess the issue is, who does he work with? I'd rather it was someone with somebody that people are giving a shit about. People are going to go, Dragon Lee, and it's like, but Dragon Lee's stock's dipped a bit as well. So you need to elevate him in order for people to give a shit.
Just scrolling through the roster page, and
obviously
it depends what brand he goes to as well. Like, is he going to be on Raw? Is he going to be on SmackDown? Like, I think the teaser was suggesting he'll be on the Netflix Raw, but doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be on Raw. Like, he might just
Karrion Kross.
If he's done with the Wyatts, could be a shout. But I think he's I
think we've got more ongoing stuff, haven't we?
So it'll be interesting. Maybe it just comes for, like, I don't know, fucking Sheamus, and that's where it starts. I don't know, something like that.
Let's look at some more. I've got another question here for this from Declan Lyons Barber, who said, "Who will be the man to dethrone Moxley as new AEW champion? My money is Darby Allin." We haven't talked about it much. But AEW, like,
today's episode's been very WWE heavy.
I'm an AEW fan. I want to make that clear. I've been on their side. It is getting hard to be an AEW fan right now. I mean, it is. You've got to get past a lot of the propaganda. It's like lowest ratings for Collision. It's like, but they're also up against Saturday Night's Main Event, which they're not normally.
Of course.
Main event.
It's the same as when they go up against, like, a PLE when Survivor Series is on.
So, and the attendance. I'm hoping that this is a period of reset for AEW. Going into a new year, the Warner Brothers deal is going to kick in shortly. They're going to be exposed to more people. I'm hoping that we're holding back on a reset. Somebody told me they have 200 wrestlers under contract.
They listen, I am scrolling the roster page right now, and it is huge. Like, huge. Donald Trump style, huge. Take 80 of those and give a fuck about them, please. Like, there's just so many, and it's like, this is the thing. There's just so many that I could not give a shit about, and I mean it in the nicest way possible. But there is people on this roster who have been signed by Tony Khan on long contracts for no other reason other than, well, they were either in WWE or I don't want them going to WWE, but I'm not going to do anything with them. That's what it feels like. Can I just be controversial right now? And I don't know what you'll think about this. I don't want / think Darby Allin should be world champion.
I'm right there with you.
You with me? I just
and I'll tell you for why. Right, you could give him the win. But he cannot be champion for long.
No, it's got to be like a night's reign, and somebody fucking brings in some, I don't know, somebody debuts and squashes him instantly, you know?
Yeah, something like that. I'm a fan of Darby Allin. I want to make that clear. He certainly deserves a top spot in the company, but I think he's maybe gone as far as he can being a top guy. Hey, give him the big win. Definitely give him the big win. But he can't be a long-term, even a particularly short-term champion. And I'm going to give a couple of reasons. Not all of these make me don't sound like a prick, so I want to make that clear, right?
Yeah.
One, you turn on your TV, Darby Allin is the world champion.
Yep. I'm turning off. As a casual, if I am a casual, I am turning off. Listen, I know a lot of people don't like Darby Allin, right? Yeah. I don't necessarily dislike the guy. I loved his partnership with Sting, and I enjoyed a lot of what they done. I'm sorry, I don't believe he's a world champion. And that's that. There's just some guys who you believe it and you don't. If Darby Allin wins the world championship, Billy, you know what needs to happen for me? Christian Cage has to appear, and Christian Cage needs to become AEW world champion seconds after Darby Allin wins that title.
And then loses it to Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, that's where I would have went with that, by the way. That's exactly where I would have went with that.
Loses it to Bobby Lashley. It's nothing against Darby Allin. I'm a fan of his work. Very exciting. anytime he's on. In fact, I don't remember a Darby Allin match being a duffer, to be honest. I don't remember any that I haven't enjoyed. I even going into this, I found myself going like, I don't get why we're going with Darby Allin. His match with Jon Moxley could be fan-fucking-tastic, and I'm sure it will be. I've gone right off Jon Moxley because it's like, what the fuck? Well, Jon Moxley's the one looking after the creative direction of some of the shows. Why? Because he's pointed his beard, shaved his head, and now he's wearing a white top. Fuck me. It's a completely different person. Yeah, I'm not too fussed. EW, I'm struggling with a bit right now, if I'm honest. I'm still watching, I'm still keeping up with the product, but I'm not as and also there's a lot of stuff bubbling under news-wise, which me and Ryan, I like a lot of yous, will take it face value. We know it could just be gossip and what have you. They need to get the shit sorted out with GCW, I would think.
Yep.
Just, you don't need to work with fucking everybody as well, by the way, Tony. Just because, like, see if you're doing Japan, go with New Japan. It doesn't need to be every single company from Japan that you decide you're going to work with.
He's chronically online, the guy. He sees praise for doing something and he loves to lap it up. He needs to take a step back and yeah. That's
Christian for champ. Christian for champ.
I'm there for it. I can't wait because I love him.
Should we finish there?
Yeah, I'm fine with finishing there, man. I think I've got everything off my chest for this week.
Liberating.
I love talking about wrestling. You know that. I love it.
Talking about wrestling. Right, we hope you've enjoyed it. Of course, don't forget to share these episodes as well, and don't forget to follow Ryan over on his number one. Thank you. Throw up every time. Don't forget to follow him over there. And of course, a couple of quick plugs from me. I'm going to be doing a show at the Glasgow Comedy Festival. If you find yourself in Glasgow this year, not only am I doing my new and hilarious stand-up show with loads of new stuff, there'll be none of the old stuff, so don't fucking moan. There'll be loads of new stuff in there. But I'm also going to be doing a show called Joke Slam, which is going to be comedians.
I love that.
Comedians that are wrestling fans talking about wrestling and going over some fun clips, so you can get tickets for that. And just a quick one, we might do a giveaway for that maybe as we get into the new year, because it'd be lovely to have some wrestling forevers along. Is that an expression? At least I'm not referring to you as the Wrestling Forever universe.
Yeah. Do you know what? Well, let's leave universe out of it, shall we? Thanks.
So make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to share, make sure to tag your friends, and let us know what you're thinking about pro wrestling just now. If there's any topics you want us to tangle, we will be more than happy to, in our way that we disagree and then violently disagree. You got anything, Ryan?
No, just thanks for listening. It's good to be back into the swing of things now after a week off, so expect to see a lot more of us as this Netflix deal heats up, and I cannot wait, Billy.
And just to be clear, if the WWE or AEW want to throw some of that cheddar our way,
yes, please.
We will sign off a lot like a lot of the other wrestling podcasts get accused of, which is ridiculous. I love that anytime I see poor Simon Miller or whatever it is, some of the guys over at What Culture going like, we've been paid off. It's like, so let's look at how that conversation goes down in Stamford, Connecticut. You know what we need? Yeah, exactly. It's not going to happen. But we will do that humbly.
We will. Happily.
Till the next time, look after yourself, my friends. And remember, there are plenty of cunts in this world, but if you listen to Wrestling Forever, you're not one of them. Goodbye! Hey.